Parker had stashed away, and a booming computer business. He had kept Amanda and their 3 children living at starvation level. And ever since the separation, she had barely been able to get enough out of him to keep them fed and in shoes. It was even more ridiculous once they figured out what he was spending on his girlfriends, and he had just bought himself a brand new Porsche. Amanda hadn't even been able to buy a skateboard for her son for Christmas. "Trust me on this one, Liz. The guy's a bully, and he's going to start squealing like a little pig when we put the squeeze on him in court. I know what I'm doing." "Jack, he's going to hurt her if you squeeze him too tight." This particular case frightened Liz, and had ever since Amanda had told them of the psychological torture she'd lived with for 10 years and 2 memorable beatings. She had left him after each one, but he had wooed her back with promises, emotional blackmail, threats, and gifts. And the one thing Liz knew for sure was that Amanda was deathly afraid of him, and Liz thought with good reason. "We'll get a restraining order on him if we have to," Jack reassured his wife just before Amanda walked into their office. And he was in the process of describing to her what they were going to do in court that morning. Essentially, they were going to freeze all the assets they were aware of and cripple his business for the time being until he gave them the additional financial information they wanted. And one thing all 3 of them agreed on was that Philip Parker was not going to like it. Amanda looked terrified as she listened to Jack. "I'm not sure that we should do that," she said softly, looking to Liz for reassurance. Jack had always scared her a little, and Liz smiled at her encouragingly, even though she wasn't totally convinced that Jack knew what he was doing on this one. As a rule, she had a lot of faith in him, but this time his heavy-handedness worried her. But no one liked a fight or a victory, particularly for the underdog, better than Jack Sutherland. And he wanted to win big time for his client. In his opinion, Amanda deserved it, and Liz didn't disagree with him, only with the way he wanted to accomplish the win for Amanda. Liz felt that, knowing Philip Parker, it was dangerous to push him too far. Jack continued to explain his strategy to Amanda for the next half hour, and at 11 that morning they walked into the courtroom for the hearing. Philip Parker and his attorney were there when they arrived, and he glanced up with a seeming lack of interest at Amanda. But a minute later, when he thought no one was looking, Liz saw a look pass between them which spoke volumes and sent shivers down her spine. Philip Parker's whole demeanor was designed to remind Amanda who was in control. Just the way he glanced at her was both frightening and demeaning, and then, as though to confuse her, he smiled at her warmly. It was all cleverly done, and the clear message he put out to her seemed to vanish in an instant, but not without its desired effect on Amanda. She looked instantly and visibly more nervous, and leaned over to whisper to Liz as they waited in the courtroom for the court to convene. "He's going to kill me if the judge freezes his business," Amanda said nervously so no one but Liz could hear her. "Do you mean that literally?" Liz asked in a clear whisper. No, I don't think... But he's going to go crazy. He's coming to pick the kids up tomorrow, and I don't know what I'll say to him." "You can't talk to him about this," Liz said firmly. "Can someone else drop the kids off to him?" As Amanda shook her head silently, she looked helpless, and Liz leaned over to say something to her husband. "Go easy," was all she said to him, and he nodded as he shuffled through some papers and then glanced up with a small, terse smile, first at Liz and then Amanda. The smile told them both that he knew what he was doing. He was a warrior ready to ride into battle, and he didn't intend to lose to his opponent. And as usual, he didn't. After hearing the shenanigans that had been pulled by Philip Parker and his legal team, the judge agreed to freeze his assets and monitor his companies for the next 30 days until he came up with the information his wife's legal team needed to reach a settlement with him. His lawyer argued vehemently against it, protesting hotly to the judge, but the judge refused to hear it, ordered him to sit down, and minutes later rapped his gavel and called a recess. And within seconds afterwards, after an